следующий поворот.
Следующий. Сука, целый, поехали быстрее! Поехали быстрее!
Ukrainian aviation remains highly active and effective. A MiG-29 crew recently executed a precision strike using American GBU-62 guided bombs on Russian positions on the left bank of the Kherson region. The attack was a textbook example of coordination and accuracy, with visuals confirming the successful deployment of the bombs and the activation of pyrotechnic cartridges during release. This strike is part of a growing trend. Ukrainian jets are now conducting near-daily sorties across the front, targeting Russian logistics, crossings, and concentrations with increasing frequency and confidence. In another recent operation, a Ukrainian MiG-29 launched 3 GBU-39 bombs, completely destroying a Russian UAV command post in southern Ukraine. This strike not only eliminated valuable enemy equipment, but also disrupted drone surveillance and attack coordination in the region. It highlights how Ukraine is leveraging Western precision munitions to systematically dismantle key Russian assets. With each successful sortie, Ukrainian aviation proves it's not just active, but increasingly strategic, targeting the backbone of Russian operations to weaken their control and slow their advances across the front. Such high-precision strikes also send a clear message. No Russian position, no matter how deep or protected, is beyond the reach of Ukraine's modernized Air Force. Russia is bringing in more and more old stuff. Due to heavy losses, Russia is bringing old T-62 tanks back into service, Ukraine's military intelligence reports. On June 27th, a train with 21 T-62s was spotted heading west. Poor condition, stored outdoors for years, the Kremlin is desperate. The video shows a Russian FPV drone striking an evacuation vehicle carrying Ukrainian soldiers near Pokrovsk in Donetsk region.
Вот и следующий поворот.
Следующий. Сука, целый, поехали быстрее! Поехали быстрее!
First-person footage shows a Ukrainian sabotage team in Russia's Kursk region. One Russian was killed, another taken prisoner. Ukrainian special forces have intensified their covert operations in Russia's Kursk region, carrying out a series of bold cross-border raids. These missions involve sabotage of critical infrastructure, ambushes on Russian patrols, and the collection of intelligence behind enemy lines. Recent reports indicate that Ukrainian units have successfully destroyed supply depots and communication nodes, creating disruption and confusion among Russian forces. In some operations, they've managed to capture Russian soldiers, who are then taken back across the border for interrogation. These incursions serve multiple goals: shaking Russian rear areas, exposing weaknesses in border security, and keeping the enemy constantly on edge. Ask ChatGPT. Russia plans to invest over 1 billion euros in expanding the Kazan aviation plant, which specializes in the production of strategic bombers. This information is confirmed by satellite images and expert assessments, as reported by the Finnish public broadcaster Yle. New satellite images show that the plant has added new hangars covering about 19,000 square meters, with a length of over 320 meters. This indicates an active modernization of the facility, into which Russia has spent at least 90 billion rubles, equivalent to nearly 1 billion euros. The Kazan plant is an important manufacturer of Tu-160, Tu-160M2, and Tu-22M3 bombers, which are actively used by the Russian military in the war against Ukraine. However, the pace of new equipment production remains low. In 2023, only 2 updated aircraft of the Tu-160M and Tu-160M2 models were delivered. Additionally, the plant fulfills orders for civilian airliners 2204/2214, but sanctions and a shortage of components have significantly slowed production. According to Ile, only one aircraft was produced this year, and it included Western components. Despite plans for 23 units, the main customer, Aeroflot, has already expressed intentions to cancel the contract due to delays. The Kazan aviation plant is one of the largest and most significant in Russia. Russian expert Marko Eklund notes that the modest production volumes indicate Russia's technological lag, especially compared to the United States. The plant faces staffing challenges, and international restrictions and isolation only deepen this gap. The plant is located approximately 1,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. In January 2024, there were reports of a drone attack, but no serious damage was recorded. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has said he has no immediate plans to hold a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, noting that any direct engagement with the Kremlin chief has so far not resulted in let-up in Ukraine. In an interview published by the Süddeutsche Zeitung Daily on Friday, Merz said, "The most recent visit by the Hungarian Prime Minister to Moscow was met by Russia with heavy bombardment of Kiev and a hospital. The last phone call with my predecessor was followed by bombs on a children's hospital. So if that is the result of such phone calls, I would refrain from making them for a long time to come." He was referring to a surprise visit to Moscow by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán last July, just when Hungary took over the European Council presidency, drawing ire from EU counterparts. The right-wing populist leader, often a thorn in the side of Brussels over a range of issues, is seen as closest to Moscow among European Union leaders. Merz's predecessor, Olaf Scholz, spoke with Putin on the phone in November for the first time in nearly 2 years, causing displeasure in Ukraine and among Eastern European NATO partners. Asked whether he thought that U.S. President Donald Trump was distancing himself from Putin, Merz said, "The U.S. president is showing growing skepticism and is becoming more critical. That is a process. There is a great deal of agreement in Europe in the assessment of this war. I believe that President Trump is coming closer to this assessment." With regard to possible new U.S. sanctions against Russia, Merz said that sanctions also harmed the U.S. economy. But the U.S. Senate is now intensively discussing whether to impose sanctions, in which the president would have the final say. "I am doing everything I can to ensure that the European Union and the United States work in unison to impose tougher sanctions." Ukrainian soldiers are sharing their combat experience with U.S. troops, demonstrating how they adjust HIMARS strikes using the Leleka 100 drone during joint training exercises in Romania.
The calculation of this rocket system was done by representatives of the United States Marine Corps. The fire mission was assigned to them by the headquarters of the multinational battalion under the leadership of the Ukrainian commander from the 30th Marine Corps. Fire control was carried out by a multinational fire damage group. Odessa adjustments were made using the brigade level complex Leleka 100. The people who worked on this as part of the training complex came for this training from areas of combat operations and shared their experience with partners.
Man 2, we receive a task from our command to conduct reconnaissance and adjust observation of firing from the HIMARS. During the task execution, of course, our partners approached and asked some questions. It's an additional burden. It was very interesting because the partner's crew approached us to see if we observed if there were explosions or if there were impacts. Well, and in general to see how it works in conjunction with the reconnaissance drone.
Blogger, overall, all the fire tasks were fully completed. All the partners are satisfied. It was interesting for them to try themselves as an element of the system that the armed forces of Ukraine have been building over the past 3 years on the battlefield.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, Please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.